What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So last Tuesday we got some brand new news, and it was some pretty decently big news, and I thought I'd give you my thoughts on it. I'm not going to be regurgitating all this information, but I have a lot of ideas kind of floating around in my head, and I just wanted to get it out on video. So this is going to be a little bit more of an informal video, but I'll try to organize it as best as possible. To start off, the news that we got was actually really exciting and caught me off guard completely. The typical news that we get is, oh, here's like 5 more Pokemon or a few Alolan forms and maybe some characters, but usually it's nothing out of the ordinary. This time, however, we got some big stuff going on, and just when you think they basically revealed everything about the Pokemon Sun and Moon, we suddenly are left thinking, well, what does this mean? The first thing that I want to talk about is the newly revealed Aether Foundation. There's been a lot of questions about what that artificial island in the middle of all of the regular Alola region is, and now we finally have our answer. It's owned by the Aether Foundation, and it's called the Aether Paradise. Basically, from the outset, the Aether Foundation are all about caring for Pokemon that have been hurt and wanting to help them, and I honestly do not believe them. Their leader is their president, Lucamine, and she seems to put off kind of an air of, oh, she really cares about Pokemon, and she wants to love them all, but I feel like there's something behind it. Then you have the branch chief of the Aether Foundation named Faba. He's got quite the look. He, honestly probably looks the most, opposite of good than the rest of them do. The rest of them I could see probably passing as good guys, and again, I'm not so sure, but he kind of has a look to him that I'm not so sure he's even in it for the good Pokemon. Next we have Wick, who is the assistant branch chief of the Aether Foundation, and she also really loves Pokemon, and she also really cares for the employees that work at the Aether Foundation. I had a theory that if the Aether Foundation does turn out to be truly evil, that her sweet and nice exterior kind of turns into a like sour and evil interior, and she's actually really sadistic on the inside, and her outside is just kind of like she puts up a good front. Then briefly there's the Aether Foundation employees. They got their weird jumpsuits, and they like going out to help Pokemon in the Alola region, saving them from Team Skull. Not gonna lie, if there's anybody that is actually good in the Aether Foundation, it's probably some of the employees. They probably don't know what's really going on. Anyway, like I said, we have Team Skull introduced, and they're supposed to be the bad guys with the group. But I get the feeling that they're really not all that bad, and that the Aether Foundation is just putting up a good front of, oh, they love Pokemon and they want to protect them. I get the feeling that all of a sudden they're going to turn around, and it's going to be, oh, well, we actually don't really care about Pokemon that much, and we just want to experiment and do our own thing, and we're going to kind of blow up Alola. The next topic that I want to talk about is the Pokemon type Null. Yep, that's its name. It's called the Synthetic Pokemon, and it's a normal type, and has the ability Battle Armor. Type Null is, kind of an interesting Pokemon. It's very Chimera-like. It's got different pieces of presumably different animals, I guess, to some degree. And also, it apparently is so powerful that it needs to wear a helmet in order to kind of weigh it down and not make it as powerful, so it's easier to control. Supposedly, it was created to complete a mission that required a Pokemon powerful enough to rival those of even mythology. Now, here's my idea. I wholly believe that the Aether Foundation created Type Null. And I wholly believe it's due to their evil intentions that they did this. Whatever its mission is, it's probably not to help people, or Pokemon. Type Null is such an enigma. It's such a weird Pokemon. I mean, we've had synthetic Pokemon before. You got Porygon and Mewtwo as 2 examples. But this is the first time that we've had basically like fully gene-spliced Pokemon. Sure, Zekrom and Reshiram and Kyurem are like technically gene spliced together in some form, but they were originally one Pokemon to begin with, so that's kind of different. This, on the other hand, is basically just they tore apart a bunch of different animals and basically sewed them back together into kind of one horrifying animal, and that's kind of upsetting. I get the feeling that there might be kind of a heartbreaking moment in the game where maybe the helmet comes off and it's just a Pokemon that's in total pain. And it's just like, it's such a sad Pokemon that it hates its existence, but it doesn't want to die either. Kind of bums me out. It reminds me of in Full Metal Alchemist when Nina and her dog get kind of fused together, and that was a really depressing episode. Anyway, sorry about the downer. Anyway, it's an interesting Pokemon, and I look forward to hearing more about it. It's so weird and out there that it really is quite the enigma. It's from its name right down to its look. Next, I want to talk about Team Skull's enforcer, Gladion. He's said to place high value on being super strong in Pokemon battles. And the reason I bring him up next is that he's Type Null's partner. Now, here's where more theories come in. I see this in going two different ways. Actually, first let me take a look at Gladion himself. He looks awfully familiar, don't you think? Sort of like another character that was just released, also in the same trailer. Her name might start with an L, end with an E. I'm talking about Lusamine. She and him look exactly the same. The only difference is he's presumably younger and is a boy. So, getting back to my theory. Here's what I'm thinking. I don't know if Gladion was already part of Team Skull or whether he ran away from the Aether Foundation. But in any event, I think he rescued Type Null for his own purposes, maybe because he felt bad for Type Null, and now works for Team Skull. He might have already worked for Team Skull, but I'm not quite sure. That's option one, more or less anyways. The other option is that he's actually working for keep wanting to call it Team Aether, the Aether Foundation. And this is the mission that both him and Type Null have been put on. That would make him undercover as a Team Skull enforcer, and not actually on their team. I personally like the idea more that he rescued Type Null away from the Aether Foundation and now joined Team Skull to kind of do his own thing. Either way, I think he's fully related in some capacity to Lusamine. Maybe they're brother and sister? Only time will tell, I guess. Either way, he seems to be kind of the answer to everybody's wanting of a proper rival, so a tough, kind of jerky rival is probably what he'll fill in the game. Now finally, we move on to something that is way out there and nobody could have guessed what it could have been. I'm serious, this is like the biggest surprise that they probably could have thrown at us. You could have guessed that there might have been another team or evil, organization. You could have guessed that there might have been a synthetic Pokemon to some degree, or a person that has that synthetic Pokemon and is using it for one of those teams. But this, I don't think anybody could have guessed. If they did, then they would have been really, really lucky. I'm talking about the mysterious Ultra Beasts. Ultra Beasts are supposedly super powerful beings, and also supposedly a threat to the Alola region. Apparently a lot of humans and Pokemon are really afraid of them. It's said that the Aether Foundation is conducting research on them too. One of said multiple Ultra Beasts is called UB01. UB01 kind of looks like a jellyfish, but apparently it's made out of a glass-like substance. Despite this, it's apparently always changing form, never being able to settle on one particular look. Supposedly there's evidence that UB01 has some survival instincts, but nobody really knows for sure if it has a will of its own or even emotions. Apparently, for some reason, its movements resemble a young girl. Okay, and here is where my theories start to come out again. Once again, we have something that looks awfully familiar to a character that we've seen and known before, and this one we've actually known for quite a while at this point. If I had to describe UB01, I'd say that, like its description, it looks like a girl that has a big white hat, flowing long hair, and bangs around what I would presume where its face would be, sort of. Sound familiar? As a lot of people have tried to guess, it looks exactly like Lily. There's no two ways about it. Its design overall is very either inspired or based on Lily. Or rather, Lily could be based on this. Either way, there's a connection between the two of them. One theory states that because UB01 can change its look, it saw Lily and it decided to kind of look like a girl. Another theory, which I personally really like, is that UB01 is Lily. Lily is said to be a mysterious girl that doesn't like Pokemon battles and is working for Professor Kukui for her own personal reasons. And she'll also have a huge role in the games. Here are my thoughts. UB01 is Lily, and she is on the run from a certain evil organization, maybe called the Aether Foundation. She decides to hide herself as a girl, and then works for Professor Kukui. As the website states, they don't really know if she has emotions or a will of her own, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a will of its own or emotions. Also, an interesting point is UB01 and the other Ultra Beasts aren't even on the Pokemon section of the website. They're clearly characters all to their own, so I don't think that you'll be able to catch them in any capacity. I think it'd be really odd if they did allow us to catch them. In my personal opinion, I think they'll play their roles in the game and then they'll disappear again. Also, I think that they're interdimensional beings, and that since they're not Pokemon, they're just animals or a species, presumably sentient, that is from a different dimension and has crossed into our world, which is really interesting considering they've never done something similar to that. Because typically every animal that we've seen is a Pokemon of some sort that supposedly Arceus built and created, or was based off of Mew. So this is the first time that we've had a species that is not a Pokemon, also not a human, and is a entirely different entity on its own. So that's really interesting. While we're talking about Lily, though, I want to bring up one thing. She also looks incredibly similar to both Gladion and Lusamine. I wonder if maybe they're siblings, or maybe they're all Ultra Beasts to some degree. That's one theory that I saw, but I don't know if I believe that. I guess to some degree, the whole of them three looking exactly similar is kind of one notch toward UB01 basing its lone look on Lily rather than Lily being UB01. But I guess we'll have to see. Either way, I think there's something up between the three of them. So in closing, I really believe that the Aether Foundation is the true villain of the whole game. I never saw Team Skull as really all that threatening, and to be honest, I always likened them to being more like bratty children than anything else. They didn't get their way, so now they go on tantrums and start acting out, but in the end really aren't all that bad themselves. I feel like at the end of the game, Kukui and Guzma will kind of reconcile and have kind of a bonding moment. Either way, the Aether Foundation has gotta be the bad guys. If they aren't, then I will be super surprised. I honestly have no idea how Solgaleo and Lunala are going to fit into this whole thing, but I had one idea, or at least I think I had it. Maybe I saw somebody else post it. Anyways, the idea is that maybe the Aether Foundation is kind of doing all these weird experiments and they want to, like, use Solgaleo or Lunala in these experiments and kind of splice their own Pokemon together and to create a super Pokemon. And that's where Type Null comes in, where he was kind of their, like, first experiment to test it out, and he's super powerful so they can use him against Lunala or Solgaleo. But that's just speculation. We don't have any idea what actually is gonna happen. Either way, this is the first time I honestly have no idea what's gonna happen in the games. Up until last Tuesday, everybody was like, oh, they're showing so many Pokemon, oh, they're showing so many characters, oh, they're showing so much going on. But we really had no idea what the story was about, other than the fact that, oh, Team Skull is kind of a bunch of thugs, and oh, we're gonna go on these trials. But even from that, we could probably piece together some sort of story. Now it's just like, well, we just got Ultra Beasts and this whole other organization thrown at us, plus the whole mystery behind Gladion and Type Null, so we have really no idea what's happening. Where could this story end? I really honestly believe that this game is going to be the biggest one that we've ever seen. There's so much going on, and it's probably a bit more complex than we even notice now. Anyway, those are my thoughts and theories, I guess, to some degree, about everything that we've talked about, and all the Ultra Beasts, and Aether Foundation, and Gladion, and Type Null too, and I think it's going to be really interesting to hear more about them. And on the 14th, there's going to be even more information, so I'll probably try to make a video about that. So I'll see you guys later. Bye!